Yeah, are we in the interview official now?
Yeah, we could say that.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what kind of ignited your interest or passion for acting? Was there like a specific movie, an actor? Was it just something that you always were kind of, as a kid, you would kind of pretend to be characters that you saw? How would that kind of start?
Great question. I You think about different moments, and different levels of moments. The inspiration you get when you're 4 is different to the inspiration you might get when you're 17.
Right.
I would say when you were saying that, one of the first cinema experiences was the first Mission Impossible film, and seeing Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt doing The Business, and just coming out and thinking, because I always remember thinking, I don't think I fully understood. It was the first film I watched where I didn't quite get like the knock list and hang on, who Jim has done this and his whole team, what's going on? I followed it obviously, but then you're like, whoa, I've got to think about it now. So it felt like the first, even though it probably wouldn't. I don't know. It felt like the first adult proper film, and Tom Cruise's portrayal and just his defiance in that role, really. And then I had a high coming out of the cinema when the credits rolled. I was just like, oh, you come out and you feel like you're ready to save the world.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big moments. There was a lot of moments watching 80s action movies with my dad in his flat on a Saturday night. Alien, Predator, Commando, True Lies, Rocky, all the Rocky films. A lot of those really inspired me. And then I suppose on a personal level, and I don't know whether many people say this, but it was because I was quite a lonely. I was a only child till I was 11. And I was quite a lonely child in the sense of, not that I didn't have love around and things like that, but a lot of the time it was me and my mum living in a flat, and she was a hairdresser. She still is a hairdresser, so she would be going to work, or so sometimes I remember I would be in the hair salon, and I just have to occupy my own time,
right.
And or I would be at home and I just have my videos or my action figures or something like that. So I think basically one of the early portrayals, which feels like it's very on brand, but with DC, but it is Michael Keaton's Batman and Bruce Wayne, because I really love when he's Bruce Wayne and he had this loneliness,
right,
and this. He was trying to do the right thing, and he was navigating romance and navigating adulthood, and trying to basically, he kind of felt like he didn't fit in anywhere, but he was still had a bit of charm to him, and he wanted to do stuff. And then obviously that determination when he put on the suit, but his performance. Just how subtle. I don't know whether if people watching haven't watched Michael Keaton's Batman, and they always think, because I imagine, you tell me what you think, Ali. I think a generation below me, probably, because there was a debate, wasn't there, going around, like, who's the, like, I think it was on Twitter yesterday, who's the best Batman? And people are like, oh, it's Bale, or oh, it's, and then a lot of people going, what, Keaton? Look at this guy. And then, but if you were there at the time, or if you watched it with that openness, and this, I think Keaton's just the layers of his performance as an actor, just really, that's all, and him continuously has inspired me as an actor, as well as, right. It just so happens that in that film, Jack Nicholson was in it as well. So Jack he is one of the greats, and he was one of my dad's favorites, and in a weird way, he actually reminds me of my dad.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of have that. I do think a lot of the time when we watch actors in movies, sometimes we feel a connection and we can't describe it.
Yeah.
And it might not be, it's not every actor that we go, oh, this actor is the most wonderful, skilled actor there is, and that's why I love them. Sometimes it is just something about them, a familiarity or a thing they do or a presence. So Jack Nicholson's always nailed it for me. So those are two of my big ones, and it just so happened that, you know, a kid growing up in the 90s watches a Batman film and two of the greatest actors of all time are in it. So I'd say those two.
Definitely. Yeah. Jack Nicholson, I gotta say, he scared me as the Joker.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him, I was pretty small.
Yeah.
And I guess even now, when I see him as Joker, I'm like, oh my God, he looks so scary to me. Like, I guess just the way they did his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, it's like permanently, it's just it. I mean, he's the Joker, so he should be creepy. I mean, he does it well, but it's just like, oh my God, the look they gave him scared me so much as a kid.
Yeah.
Which I guess, you know, Joker's, I mean, even in animated versions, he looks like he can look very scary. So, but no, he's definitely a legend, living legend. For sure. So I guess this kind of my next topic was you kind of answered that. But I guess just to expand on it, childhood influences, were there influences that were not, I mean, they could be like in your personal life, not necessarily on screen or, you know, in entertainment. Do you have any childhood influences, or not, maybe not even as a young child, but, you know, as you grew up, that kind of, I guess, you know, influenced what you decided to do as a career path?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. Some of my family members have always inspired me. In hindsight, even though he annoyed me a lot when he was alive, my dad inspired me, because I think in another life he should have been an actor, and he was this macho, charismatic, maverick presence that could walk into any pub, club, barbecue house, party, and within minutes he would have everyone around him telling jokes, telling stories, doing voices, doing impressions. So in hindsight, I think he was a big influence. Both my grandmothers, my nan, on both sides of the family, they're big influences just from being who they were, and they were both very powerful women. Who, and my one of my grandmothers, called Shirley, she was just she was and for her generation, she was a woman that built a career of her own, which, in, you know, someone born in the 30s, that's a much, you know, an unbelievable achievement. And she was always she always, when I was growing up, she always kind of saw something in me, maybe a bit of her, that I don't care what other people are saying, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So she was a big influence. In terms of, like, specifically with acting, there was an actress called Jan. Well, she never became a professional actress. A woman called Jan Fletcher. When I was doing amateur theatre in the Little Theatre in Birkenhead, my hometown, we did a production of A View from the Bridge, which is an Arthur Miller play. And we did a show called Blood Brothers, which is a Liverpool set musical. And I don't even know how old she was, but we probably fit into like son and mother age groups, because she played my mum in one of those plays. And she was someone who you look at, and even though day by day she worked in a gym and sold property, but of an evening on the stage, she's like a star. And so watching her, and she mentored me in many ways, just in life, in terms of, you know, performing or just going for it or putting out positive energy, things like that. So she'd be another woman that really, inspired me.
Awesome. It's cool to hear that. So, well, what did your dad do for a living? You said you feel like he should have been an actor in another life.
Yeah.
So was his job was his job, you know, did it fit his personality that you described?
Not really.
Oh,
he was
okay.
So when I was really young, he was a security guard.
Okay.
And then and then when I was about, I've probably got the, don't know, got the ages accurate. When I was about 11, 12, he trained, and because this is back in the day, he took the test to become a taxi driver, because you had to memorize all the roads. So he then became a taxi driver, and he did that for about 10 years, I think, maybe 15. And then he was doing odd jobs, or sometimes he was unemployed. But I mean, it'd be a great story at some point. But yeah, I think being a taxi driver, it's a cliche, but I think it really drained him of positivity, and because we worked the night shift, and if you work in the night shift, you're dealing with a lot of bad things. So yeah, he did that, and then at one point he got this one-off job delivering the Yellow Pages, of which he made me help him deliver.
Of course.
And so that was like a little comedy sitcom in itself. And then after the taxiing, he then, because I think way back he trained as a mechanic, but then he also then trained as a forklift truck driver. So he worked on the Liverpool docks as a forklift truck driver for a period. Then he got a job at the local factory for Jaguar cars. So that was the last job he had. So yeah, he was doing a lot of, but back in the day as well, when he was a teenager, he had, I don't know what the equivalent is in America, but over here, if you're a promising footballer, as in English football, they send you for a trial at a football club. So he had trials for Everton, our hometown club, and he was, and like in hindsight, he says, if I didn't start partying and drinking so much when I was a teenager, I might have been able to become a professional footballer. But even, I don't know, again, but even, he was in the he was in school in the 70s, and went into the job market in the early 80s. And in my area, like, there wasn't as many opportunities. There was no internet. You pretty much do what your dad did, or I mean, that still exists in many places now. So I just think maybe if he was born now, or if he was my age now, he might have found a way to pursue more of a more creative thing. But he just didn't put it together. He never thought it would have been possible. He would have laughed at it. Although, having said that, when I did used to tell him, if I said, I wrote a film a while ago set in Liverpool about a taxi driver based on him. And I was like, "Oh, Dad, so what do you think of Jason Isaacs or Sean Bean playing you in the movie about you?" And he's like, "Lad, what do you mean? I'm playing me. You're not getting anyone else to play him. I'm playing him." And I'm like, "Dad, you're not even an actor. You don't have to perform for the screen." He's like, "I've been performing my whole bloody life. Get me on the screen."
That's a great response.
Yeah.
So that's what he was like. Hello.
Yeah. He's like, because I wanted there was like this New York African American hotshot lawyer character that he ends up falling for, and my ideal actress was Angela Bassett, and then obviously with that he was like, "Angela Bassett, me and Angela, we'll be great. Just put us on there. Don't worry, I'll sell the tickets. It'll be great."
She's amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Well, I mean, so he was really, he had a lot of skills then that he was able to,
you might say.
Yeah. He did a lot of different things. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So we'll switch gears now a little bit to kind of more present day.
Yeah.
So on your Instagram, you share a lot of different things on there for, kind of people that follow you, follow your career, follow your personal life. One of those things that you like to share a lot of is fitness. So what have you always kind of been into fitness, or was that something that you kind of got into as you got more into adulthood? What's your background on that?
You're like, that's all I got, and that's fine. No, well, and I'm not the only one that posts fitness videos, by the way.
Oh, I try.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. Yeah, well, as I did on a recent post, the way I'd like to say it was that I was always a bit of a chubby fat kid back in school. So I was never, just because of the way I looked, I was never seen as a sporty person. I was
Okay.
always seen more of an academic person. I could write a good essay. I was good at English. I was good at speaking.
Right.
So yeah, it wasn't that I was actually bad at sports. It was just obviously you just don't feel as comfortable doing it and all that. And so I guess through my teenage years, I started to, and fact is, when you start realizing, when you go from that, 10-year-old, girls, who wants to hang out with them? And then fast forward to like 13, and you're like, oh my God, girls are the greatest thing ever invented. Like, where did they come from? We didn't even know. So obviously I think that is a motivation for a lot of, certainly for me, is to like, oh, well, you want to look in good shape for, if you want to attract a girlfriend, or, just simple teenage stuff. So I think that, and then I started playing for a football team, obviously, soccer,
Yeah,
you guys would call it.
Makes no sense. Yes,
I played for a football team called Bevington Rovers, and for a hot minute I was the captain. And for one game I was the captain, and I scored a goal. And I was like a defensive player, so that was pretty special for me. So and then I think, so when I started playing football, started running, and I used to go for night runs with a friend of mine who was also on the same team. So that started to, get more into, looking after myself and a bit more conscious about what I ate. And then, yeah, I think I did about, anyone who's been naturally, or I don't know what naturally means, but if you're naturally as a kid a bit chubbier or out of shape, or what someone might describe as fat, then you always have this nagging thing of like, oh, unlike the person who's got super high metabolism who can eat 5 pizzas, you've got to watch what you're doing. So all the way, so then, yeah, through my 20s I was always trying to get fitter, trying to get healthier, trying to improve my physique. But it was a lot of, because there's so much information out there. You try this, you try that, you fall off that wagon, you try this new thing. Oh, there's this new thing, and then, oh, I'll try that, and then it's not easy. So I guess through all my 20s, I was trying loads of different things through various degrees of success. And then it was actually when I got one of my mates called Jay Brown, who was a personal trainer. I didn't have much money at the time, but I said, mate, if I just throw you a few quid, can you write me a program and tell me what to eat, tell me what to do? Because I'm the kind of person that does well on that kind of thing. Because I have good discipline. So if you tell me where to be, what to do, I'll do it. I'll execute it. So that's set a bit of a path. And then I guess the other big thing was, I've always wanted to have, I grew up on wrestling, I grew up on superheroes. So I've always wanted to have that kind of physique, as I'm sure I do. So, and then the other thing was I did, when I filmed I Am Vengeance Retaliation, which is the movie currently on Netflix, US and UK, starring Vinnie Jones and WWE legend Stu Bennett, and yours truly. When I signed on to do that in 2018, I knew that character had a whole sequence when he was topless. So I thought,
there's my motivation.
Yeah, as soon as they called me and said, we want you for this role, I literally, it was like, yes. Oh God. Okay. That's the topless role, right? That's the guy that in the final third of the film is topless for the whole thing. Okay, cool. So that gave me a big, and also because you're in a movie with a WWE wrestler, you're in a movie with Katrina Durden, who is action actress who's been in Marvel stuff, and you're with Phoebe Robinson Garvin, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt. So you're like, I'm gonna have to bring it. So so that was a big motivation. And then so I've just, you know, it's what I've said to people who message me and say, oh, have you got any tips? It's like, keep exploring, keep seeing what works for you, and listen to the experts and people that have walked the walk. So I've just, and then during lockdown in the last year, some people will have had the opposite reaction, but my reaction was, right, if there's one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come out of this thing fitter, buffer, healthier. It was like a defiance. I was like, nah, if I'm gonna be locked up, then I'm at least gonna. So luckily I had like a pair of basic dumbbells that I'd never used because I like going to the gym normally.
Right.
And I just thought, right, this is what I've got. I've got time, I've got a bit of space, and I can control what I eat. So let's see what we can do. So I did a lot of, with the extra time, I did a lot of research. So yeah, I've just been on that journey for the past year, and really enjoying it. And it's also been a bit of a mental savior as well. It's a big outlet for me to go to the gym and lift some weights, and because you know, it gets out of your own head and focus on something else. And yeah, so and also hopefully, you know, you inspire other people and let people know, because I think a lot of people, especially now, they'll be on Instagram and they see, you know, buff bod here, buff bod here, buff bod here, and they go, oh, well, that's them and not me, and I'm not naturally like that. And
well, nobody is.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's about inspiring people, and also everyone's got different goals. It's like people, you know, people will see someone and they'll go, oh, I'm never gonna look like that, and I'm like, well, you don't have to. Like, what do you know? It's you know, everyone's got their own. That person thinks that's a good look. So what do you think is a good look? Or is it more about feeling good? Or, you know, find the sport you love, or find the activity you love. Or it's like, I hate running. I hate cardio in the gym. I hate the cross trainer. Yep. And in reality, I'm not going to do it. So instead, like, you know, during lockdown, instead it's been, well, how about I just do a walk for an hour? I can listen to podcasts, I can listen to music, I can call my mom, and I'm still burning calories, but you know, it's something that I can just do. So yeah, there's a little fitness journey for you.
Cool. Yeah, I know the COVID and lockdown really changed that for a lot of people. I think it kind of affected people either one way or the other. For fitness. Like, I think some people either went the route that you were talking about for yourself, like, okay, I'm going to do this at home, what I can do with my space, whatever I have, if it's gallons of water or whatever people have, you know? And then I think for other people, it's hard. I think it can be hard to do those kind of things at home. You know, like, it can be hard to be motivated at home because you're comfortable or you have other things you have to do.
You got a family, you got kids,
if you have kids, around. You have to, you know, clean the house or watch. You would rather watch, you know, you'd rather be comfortable. So it can be hard, even with, you know, if you have like a little bit of a garage gym, like we have here that we eventually kind of built up a little bit. Even it can be hard if you know you have this equipment or whatever you might have. It can still be hard, you know, if you have a cardio bike or whatever it is. It can be hard to feel motivated at home. And like you said, I think with social media, with men and women, it's like, you have to, I'm glad that like now the kind of posts are starting to become more popular, where a person will say like, you know, this is me at this time. And like 2 seconds later, this is me too. You know, I'm glad that more people are doing that. Yeah. Like the 5-second transformations or whatever they are. Showing how people are posed differently, or, you know, they pull up their leggings or whatever it is. You know, I'm glad that those are becoming more popular, because it can be, especially on lockdown and things like that, it can, I know with, you know, mental health and things like that, can really affect people thinking like, oh, this is how they look all the time. You know, they walk around with this perfect body, and it's just not realistic. Yeah.
And you see a lot of people, because I follow quite a few like bodybuilders or, you know, competitors, and they'll post a picture where they're like so lean, and they're like, they've got, you know, the abs are popping, the veins are popping.
Yeah, because they're dehydrated.
Yeah, but then they'll literally say, a lot of them now, they'll say, by the way, this was for a week last year, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, no. And I didn't know a lot about that stuff. Like, my husband kind of got me in, he's the one who really got me into like fitness and stuff like that. I've always hated exercise. And like, I hated PE in school. Like, it was just not my thing. I was not athletic or nothing like that. And then I didn't know anything about CrossFit or anything until he started showing me like pictures and stuff of like the CrossFit gym he would go to and like the women. And I'm like, I've never seen so many buff women in one place in my life. Like, and I was kind of like, oh, I was naive in thinking that like, if you do this, you're going to look like that. That wasn't personally my thing. Like, strong women I like to be strong, but like, you know, physique wise, I was like, I don't know if I want that much muscle, you know, all over my whole body. And he's like, no, it's hard for men to gain muscle. So if you think you're going to look like that after doing some CrossFit, you're not. Like, you have to really try to do that.
I know that's a big, you know, there seems to be that, because obviously it's fascinating, the male and female, you know, differences in terms of the desires and the stereotypical looks and all this. And you get, you know, some women who are like, oh, I don't want to pick up any weights because I don't want to look like you know, this CrossFit Icelandic CrossFit warrior. And I'm like, well, you know, that it's probably taken her 15 years of you know, a lot of, you know, nutrition and all this. So but like you said, it's about I said to someone the other day, it's the first thing you should do is set your desire, because then that will affect what you want to do. Some people are more about, you know, the feeling of it, or they want to be, even the difference between being physically strong versus looking strong. You know,
exactly. Yeah, it can be deceiving. Like, you know, some people, you'll go in the gym and you're like, wow, like that person's really strong, but you wouldn't have guessed that they were that strong, you know? And like, I mean, CrossFitters, especially the competitors, they have a very specific like body type that they kind of start achieving over time from doing what they do. And me, like, the workouts are death. And I was like, I don't understand why I have to do this. Like, why do I have to die the entire workout? Like, you know, so I was always complaining about it. But then after I kind of started getting a little bit, I wouldn't say used to it, because you don't really ever get used to it, but you kind of know what to expect. Yeah. My husband started he's like, okay, let's go in the strength room. He'd always be lifting weights. And I'm like, why don't you come out here and die with me? Because you brought me here, you know, you're over here taking your time, lifting your weights.
You just did a little Suicide Squad quote there.
That's how I felt. But then he started introducing me to lifting, and I was like, I like this. So that was something I never expected to like ever. And so as I started doing that more, then I kind of started like, okay, I want to get stronger, you know. And so it just, it's changed a lot. Oh, I don't do as much CrossFit anymore, since we're working out at home. Sometimes we do some, but I like lifting and things like that. So I love when, like, you know, speaking of DC and things like that, since you're with us, the Amazons and all of that, it's like, it's awesome to see that, you know. It's awesome to see so many strong women that could like take on a man as far as like how big and strong they are. It's really cool. So I'm glad that's more inspiring.
It's also like, I think that's you know, especially if you're, you know, if they're Amazons, and when you've seen images of Amazons in books, in comic books, in whatever it is, it's like, I think it was, you're totally right. And that it felt like in Snyder's Justice League, it was even more like visible, just that squad of Amazons in, you know, in the opening sequence with the box, and, you know, especially when they're holding up the drawbridge, is like, whoa, like we got some serious Amazons in the house. Like,
They're awesome, especially because women female characters in comic books, or they're usually, I mean, they might look strong, but their feminine features are also very obvious. You know,
Well
so
said. Well said.
so you know, when Gal was cast and that was part of the complaints, I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, you're not, first of all, it's very unrealistic to think you're going to find an actress who can who can hold the role, who is buff and curvaceous, curvy at the same time. Mm-hmm. That doesn't really usually go. If you're very muscular, you most likely are not voluptuous. Those don't usually go together. I'm
really enjoying you find the words as you explore this.
I want to be respectful.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just couldn't believe that people were complaining about that, because if that would have been the case, I feel like if they would have cast a woman who was more, you know, curvy, top and bottom, then it just would have been like, oh, she's just, you know, they picked her because, you know, they're sexualizing her and all of that. And it's like, well, you can't have both, you know, but then you see the mascara and like you have all these, you know, super amazing, athletic, strong women. And it's like, see, but you're not going to have, like, I'm glad that they didn't go that route, which, you know, obviously it doesn't seem like something Zack would do anyway, but it doesn't make sense for people to complain about that, because then it would have been the other side of the story, which they still tried to say that the Amazons were, you know, sexualized or whatever, but it's like, well, they're wearing armor. That's not sexual, you know.
But it's like, I think, and you know, there's a million. That's the beauty of the comic book world, is, you know, you talk about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. If you were to cast another Wonder Woman in another universe, you could opt for a woman who has more of a. You could cast Wonder Woman with someone with a CrossFit physique, in the same way that Michael Keaton is physically, you know, he's nothing like Bale or Affleck,
right?
Who both of which, you know, Bale had a very, very muscular, lean physique, and Affleck was this like beast, like huge powerhouse, you know, animated series, V-shape, you know, back like this, and then, but at the same time, you can, you know, Michael Keaton, who's slim and athletic, but he's not got bulging muscles. It's the same thing that there's a different interpretation for every character. So and Gal, you know, I remember when she got cast as Wonder Woman, and I didn't really know. Somebody actually said, oh, she was in Entourage, and then so I went back and watched, because I watched Entourage. I was like, oh my god, yes, she was in Entourage. And then but then I remember when I was just like, hey, let's see what she does. And then in Batman v Superman, the moment she was on screen, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's that out. That's that debate gone.
That's taken care of. Her entrance still, I think, is the best.
Yeah. But anyway, So amen to everything you just said.
So since we kind of segued into, well, I want to talk about one more thing that I saw you sharing on Instagram. You had posted recently I guess you would say, you had posted something that you said you and this fellow actress weren't getting the types of roles that you wanted. So you decided to make something of your own together.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what were the roles that you weren't? So you guys had that in common, you were saying, right? You guys were both feeling that way. What were the kind of roles that you were hoping for, trying to get, that you weren't really finding?
So thank you for bringing that up. So Kyla Fry and I, we were in a night of new plays at the Lyric Theatre in probably about 2012, 2013. And It was a really cool night. It was one of those nights as an actor where you do it because you love it and the writing is great, but you don't get paid. One of those.
Okay.
And we've both been out in the industry a few years, and she can speak better on her perception of the roles she was getting seen for, but it was just we were both frustrated because I'd played a few roles on TV and they were always quite stereotypical to my home city of Liverpool.
Okay.
So, the stereotypes of in Britain, working class, northern, which connotations of womanizing, drug taking, sports obsessed, cheeky dickheads, basically.
Right.
It's a stereotype. And sometimes as well, it was just a case of I felt like I was getting brought in for roles that, and I played some roles and I was happy to play them, but then after that, it was like, you get a script and you go, you're bringing me in for this like character role who's in 2 scenes, who's this crazy like stereotype, but I think I'm more of this guy who's, either the leading, and obviously, an actor wants more of a bigger part, surprise, surprise. But it was like, I know my energy and I know what I can bring in my presence. And as I started to learn that, I was like, I'm not this loudmouth stereotype. I'm actually more this guy, this, whether it be the romantic lead or the flirty, maverick, or just and more of an everyman, even just those kind of roles, or just can I just have a dude that is not defined by that. And obviously this is a white dude talking, so imagine Kyla's version as a woman of color,
right,
who and again, she'll say it better than me, but in a blunt way, it was a case of, she's a woman of color, she's a Londoner, she's working class, and she was getting brought in for the pregnant young mum on the council estate, or the woman on benefits that's screwing the system, or all of those on the edge stereotype, poor, one-dimensional roles. And we joked and we said, I think I can do a bit of a George Clooney thing, I think I can do a bit of a George Clooney, drop some smooth, refined vibes on the screen, and look decent in a suit rather than a tracksuit. And she was like, yeah, I mean, I think I can play, the femme fatale, the attractive leading lady. And so we were obviously, and we're bound to say that because we believe in our own hype. But we just thought, well, hang on a minute, why don't we're still not getting seen for these kind of roles. Why don't we can either moan about it or we can do something about it. So over the course of some coffee meetings over the years, we came up with these 2 characters. There were actually shades of George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez in the movie Out of Sight. Because Kyla and I, we were saying also, where are the movies like Money Train, White Men Can't Jump, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, those kind of movies, but UK.
Right.
So, movies that are serious, but they have a romantic steaminess to them, but they have comedy as well. And they have a bit of style. So that was where we were coming from. And we named the characters in that movie. We made a short movie called Double Cross. It's a crime caper movie. It's 8 minutes long. It's on Amazon Prime. And our characters in it are named George and Jen as a nod to George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. So that was the kind of vibe we were going for. And obviously we made it our own. We made it British. We built the characters from that. And we met a brilliant director called Sam Bradford, and then him and his team were like, yeah, let's all make it. We're not going to get paid for it, but we'll make it off our own back and we'll see what happens. So I guess it's like a mini version of, Affleck and Damon's Good Will Hunting in the sense of just 2 actors that we were like, nah, let's just do something ourselves. And that opened up a lot of doors. And suddenly when people go, oh, hang on, I never saw him in a suit before. Interesting. And he's actually he can do a bit of he can be quite okay, yeah, okay. And same with Kyla, they'd be like, oh, she's in a dress and she's doing that leading lady vibe. Okay. Or, the female lead, yeah, she's got it. So we did that, and then it opened up some more doors. So yeah, and I think there is, I don't know what the American perception is of Britain, but from a British perspective, sometimes it feels like, and here's a clue as to why many British actors love American shows and like to come to America to act in your shows, is because there's a lot of closed shops in Britain. There's a lot of, there isn't as much, of course, but there is a feeling of they don't have as much of a hunger to find vibrant, fresh, new talent and make them a star. They just kind of go, who can we put in it? Who can we put in it? Well, he just did that, so we can do that again. She just did that, she can do that again. Or who plays this? And obviously, the star system and bringing in names is a crucial part of making movies, and that's cool. But there is a sense that there is a bit of class prejudice in the UK in terms of, there's a lot of big British actors went to the same school. And these schools are schools that you can only go to if your parents have a lot of money to pay for your education. Or even like north south, there's a lot more opportunities in London versus Liverpool, where I grew up. So obviously, nobody owes you anything in this game. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you don't fight it and you don't go, hang on a minute. So that's always been my energy, and it still is to this day. You get that balance as an actor. The hard thing is you do sometimes have to just be patient and wait for the artist or the creator to see what you're doing and then recognize it and go, you know what, this guy can do this, I'm bringing him in. But you got to be proactive as well. So that was what we did for that. And when I posted it on Instagram to bring it full circle, it was to suggest that in whatever field you're in, especially now, see what happens if you try do something yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of what I remember you trying to get that message across when I saw the post. So since you were kind of talking about waiting for the creator, the filmmaker to kind of recognize your work, that kind of reminds me of, since you were cast in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Nice hoodie, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't wait to get one finally. Correct me if I'm wrong, in a previous interview, you didn't know the movie that you were auditioning for, right? You didn't know that it was Justice League. They kind of just told you, you kind of just put it together like, okay, I think it's probably this. Based on
what they yes and no. So my agent said, I've got an audition for a Warner Brothers film, and it's called Harwood.
Okay.
Harwood. And then he said, but I think that's a code name. And he goes, and then he said, I think he said something like, I'm not definite, but I'm pretty sure it's Justice League.
Okay.
So that's what he said. So I went in there, and obviously you have that chat with your agent, and then your agent's going, listen, you didn't hear it from me, but I think it might be Justice League. So then when you go into the audition, you don't go, hi, everybody, I'm here to audition for Justice League. You go, hi, yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah, so what are we doing?
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you thought it was probably Justice League. Okay.
Yeah.
But you were aware of like the type of, role that you would be playing if you got cast in this movie. Okay.
It was a dummy scene, so it was like a fake scene created for the audition.
Yeah.
And it was an interaction between two American military guys and a superior officer.
Okay.
And the superior officer I can't remember exactly, it was a couple of pages. Superior officer comes up, the army guy is like surprised to see him, and they have a bit of a chat, and he's like, "Oh, you're back," and then he says, "Well, right this way, sir," or right this way, sir, whatever. And then when I got in the room, the casting director said, "It's not a superior officer, it's Superman." Wow. So I went, "Oh," and then suddenly all the lines,
made sense.
"Oh my God, sir, you're back." All of those kind of lines. And he's like, looks him up and down, and he's like standing to attention. And then the guy's like, "Eddie's," cool. I heard that something was, whatever it was. That's my approximation of it. But yeah, so once she said that, I went, "Oh," I've been rehearsing it, just thinking it was this old sergeant.
Right.
Or this old drill sergeant guy. And then it's like, "Oh," and then I do remember, vividly the lovely casting director, she called Kate Ringsell. She you could tell she said that, and then she went, "Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'll stand behind the camera, and Superman's gonna land. He's gonna glide down, and he's gonna land on the ground, and then he's gonna approach." So I went, "Cool," and then she went, "So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my hand up here in the background behind where you're looking, and I'm gonna bring my hand down slow, and then when my hand hits my leg, that's when he's hit the ground, and then he walks up to you." And then you could tell she was quite conscious, and she went, "Now I know that's a bit strange, and I know that these superhero movies are a bit out there, and but can you at least try? Can you please try and imagine, Superman, and Superman with he's got the S, and he's got the cape, and I know it's all a bit, it's really, I know it's, it's really big, and it's kind of, very over the top, but he can fly, and he flies down. So if you could just please, just imagine for me." And then I was like deadly serious. I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, "Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I think I can. Yeah." So if you can just imagine that it is actually Superman, honestly, I was just like, just give me a take. Just let me do a take. I think I can. I reckon I can imagine Superman. Honestly, I think I've got a really vivid image of what he looks like. So it was a lot of fun in the end.
Very cool. So yeah, that would be a big surprise. You're like, "Oh, okay, now it makes sense." Yeah.
Now we're talking.
So I think most of us, we kind of have followed the whole, story of, oh my gosh, Sam Benjamin. We started becoming familiar more with your name because it was just popping up everywhere about, oh my gosh, he might be Green Lantern. He was supposed to be Green Lantern in the movie, and this and that.
Yeah.
But then, and I'm okay. I made video. I had a live stream about this has to be true, because I went digging on Twitter, Instagram, and I was like, this all makes so much sense. And I was like, okay, everyone's like, he fits the part. Yes, it's him. And I was like, there's no way. Why would he, and you were so excited to promote them, which is not a bad thing. It's awesome. Of course, if Zack Snyder puts you in a movie and you're like, no matter what you're doing, you're like, heck yeah, this is Justice League, this is Zack Snyder, this is Henry Cavill, I'm gonna be hyped about it, But I was kind of well, okay. The thing that I think sparked everyone oh my God, was just one little green heart emoji.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, he's Green Lantern. He confirmed it. But I'm guessing that wasn't your intention. You're kind of just responding to a fan question.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting. I mean, I've been on a big learning curve in terms of the fan community. I filmed on Justice League in 2016, 5 years ago. So on the one hand, from my point of view, it was like, I've done a couple of days on the Warner Brothers studio lot. I've filmed with Zack Snyder. It's a small part. It's a really small part with a few lines, and or depending on how they cover it, with a bit of action in there. So I was like, I'm a positive person. I was like, I've got that credit. I'm in the Justice League film. I'm in a film amongst some of my favorite actors, Henry Cavill, Affleck, Gal Gadot. I'm in a film with the people that I've just watched 4 times in the cinema in Batman v Superman. This is really cool. It's my first Warner Brothers movie. All of those milestones.
Absolutely.
And then you go, yeah. And then I think the Green Heart thing, I can't remember what someone said, but I think somebody just put something like in Brightest Day or something like that. And then it was, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, oh, it's the Green Lantern oath, and I just thought, well, isn't that a fun way to like it? Green Heart, there you go.
Yeah.
So, but then I started to realize, and then for some reason, I just thought, no one's going to be paying attention to what I'm saying, because I've been in a few British TV shows. I've done Doctor Who. I've done Peaky Blinders. I'm a working actor. I'm auditioning. I filmed it. That's done. People are going to know if they've cast a big actor in a big superhero role, because they're going to announce it. So, and then it just crept up slowly. So that was my perspective. But then very quickly, it was actually a couple of friends of mine that met, who are big DC fans, and they were one of them. I remember one day, I think it was on Facebook, he went into my inbox and he was like, mate, are you seeing this stuff? And I was like, what stuff? And then he started sharing what people were saying, and I was like, oh my god. And then so that was that. But and then it's like I've said before, it's a tricky balance, because we were talking about, I mentioned before, about sometimes an actor just has to be patient, and that kind of iconic role, is phenomenal to be associated with it, and in your heart you want to be like, yeah, I'd love to play it. Let's do it. And then, but then on the other side you go, well, no, hang on a minute. I'm a fan too, so I know I've got an idea of what it's like following this stuff. So but a lot of the buzz as well was added because I used a very poor choice of words in an interview, and which
I remember the interview.
Yeah. And then like what I went back and watched it, and I was like, what I said was true.
Right.
And the way, but the way I said it, I acknowledge would have allowed some people to read in and go, oh, wait a minute, that means he's saying he's in a 30-minute arc, whereas that wasn't my intention. It was a jump in sentences from, I was on it for a couple of days, and then when somebody said, when did you realize you weren't in it? And then I said, watching the movie, the Justice League Whedon version in the cinema, I very quickly realized there was about a 30-minute at least section, which, as we now know, involved the mother box outside Star Labs. That section was one of the sections I recognized. I thought, oh, wait a minute, we've just completely jumped. And then I thought, because the film did that, I was like, well, I'm definitely not in it now. So that was where that came from. So because of that, and then also people started reading into my old tweets and posts, but a lot of those posts, such as yourself, but genuinely, and you can go back and look, and I think anyone that hopefully looks through my Instagram or my Twitter, I'm fairly consistent in what my passions, energy, and humor is. In terms of, I like those Maverick characters. I love Top Gun. I like a good flight jacket. All this kind of stuff. So a lot of it happened just organically, or even The Ring that used to be my dad's, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, as much as when it was, oh my god, like he's doing it on purpose, and I'm like, well, no. My dad died, and
oh
this
my
was
gosh.
his ring.
Yeah,
this was his ring. And when I acquired the ring, this was the finger it fit on. So it was like, is it going to go on my left hand? No, that feels weird because that's like your marriage hand. And then I was like, right, which one? Boom. And then,
Yeah.
So, but
No,
it's been one hell of a journey.
Right. I wasn't laughing at what you said about your dad. I was laughing at people thinking that, I was laughing at people thinking that you would do that on purpose. Like, that would be not nice. And I don't think anyone was thinking like, oh, I never got the impression that like you were just trying to lead us on as fans, because there wouldn't be any reason to do that, especially if we'll find out eventually. Even if we wouldn't have got the Snyder Cut, eventually we would have found out like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, explaining it from your perspective as far as like, oh, I'm just, liking this comment and I'm happy that people are, maybe associating me with that character. People are not going to really be paying attention to my comments in this Instagram post. Like, it makes sense that you wouldn't really think like, no, I probably wouldn't either think that it's going to just like escalate to like people making fan art. And then like, it really got. And like you said, oh, well, it's Green Lantern. They'll probably cast, some huge,
Zack Efron,
veteran,
someone who's already huge.
Some huge name, like, actor that's going to catch a bunch of headlines, and like everyone's, but then like people who have paid attention to Zack, he doesn't really do that. He hasn't. I think probably Ben Affleck, and the support besides Ben Affleck, and the supporting roles, Jeremy Irons and Diane Lane, they are bigger names than like the actual Justice League. So then people are like, oh, well, no, he tends to kind of just, pick out people like Ray Fisher, Gal Gadot, who people might not have immediately recognized, even Henry Cavill, like they all were kind of just like not household
working
names.
Actors.
Yeah. Ezra Miller, like pretty much everybody except Ben Affleck. So it was kind of like, oh, well, it's kind of like him to cast, these people that are maybe up and coming. But nevertheless, we are happy that you got your credit for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I can say I probably wasn't the only one that we kind of, I think, expected at least somewhat around the time of the movie that you would probably show up. So we're kind of like, I'm sure I wasn't the only one, because I know people started posting screenshots and asking you, is this you? And knowing that it was around the time that Superman was coming back. And so you said you were on set for a couple of days, but you said that you had also filmed some dialogue.
I think it was literally like, it was like improv lines with Silas. And I think it was probably a couple of lines, like, because and again, it was 5 years.
Right. It's been a long time. Yeah.
It was 5 years ago, but essentially there wasn't, I think there was no more than 2 lines maybe. And then there was, it was more action. It was, the place getting evacuated, Steppenwolf dropping down, people getting evacuated, Silas coming to me and asking me to make sure everyone gets out, me acknowledging it, and then that kind of business. So it wasn't, it was like 1 or 2 lines maybe. And obviously, again, you just, like I said, it was like quite an improvised vibe. It was more about, which I liked, it was more about the logical action, and then whatever the characters would organically say is what the characters would organically say. So it was literally like 1 or 2 lines, with, there was a bit more to do than obviously than the tiny frame that was in the film. So yeah, it was that was it.
Yeah. And so when the announcement was made, did you find out with the rest of us when Zack did the Man of Steel watch party, or did you kind of already know that possibly it was going to happen before that?
No, I found out with the rest. So it was like, whoa. It was pretty, because I didn't, just because this never happened before, I just didn't, not because I didn't think, I was convinced that it was there. I just wouldn't have thought that it would have been released, because
Right.
but yeah, it was just a perfect storm of circumstances, and the fans, as I've learned as part of this journey, are just unrivaled in their passion and their determination, their support. So and also on what you were saying about Zack before, it's one of the reasons why I think, well, you always hear good stories about Zack from people who've worked with him, but also that's what makes you like him even more as an actor, is because he really does choose people who he knows can play the role in his vision, regardless of what they've done before.
Yep.
So it's another thing that, and I think there's a reason why that's another element of his films. You know, people talk about, oh, he's just, you know, you hear a lot of people going, oh, he's just visual. He only cares about is, you know, is the visuals, as long as it looks gorgeous and it's shot in this ratio, blah, blah, blah. But no, like his casting is bang on. So, so yeah, and also just for the record, I didn't want to make it sound like I was ungrateful for people reading into my stuff and going, oh, it could be, you know, I'm totally, every time it happens, I'm flattered by it. Every fan art, I'm flattered by it. It's been it's a joy to be seen in that role.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't think people are interpreting
in that CGI suit.
People can do some pretty great fan art. Like I've seen fan art that I'm like, wait, is that legit?
Amazing.
Is that official? And they're like, no, it's fan art. Wow. And so how was it watching Zack Snyder's Justice League for the first time? Because some people that were cut from the movie never saw the theatrical version, like Ray Porter, who played Darkseid. He never watched it, which is understandable.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I know. He's like, I'm blissfully unaware. That's what he told me when I talked to him. And I'm like, I mean, he knows from what he's seen out there, you know, what like the reason for the campaign and everything, but he's never actually watched the movie. But you did, right? You watched the theatrical version. What was it like for you watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, knowing what we got in theaters? Since, I mean, as someone who was, a brief role, but still was there and shared that experience with, you know, cast members, crew, Zack.
Was that one of your children just then?
Yeah, sorry.
I love it. It's a great sound effect. Because I actually saw they did a London Leicester Square screening of Justice League in 2017. So I went with my agent and with a few other people who I knew on the film as well. And but I knew ahead of it that my moment wasn't going to be in it.
Yeah.
But I just thought, well, all right, let's see what the deal is. Let's see what we're doing. And it was one of those where, because at the same time, you got to imagine, if you're at a screening and you're with all these crew, all the makeup, all the designers, all of the people who worked on it for years. Like I turned up for a cup of coffee and looked at, you know, was in front of the camera for a bit. Some of these people in that room were working on it pre-production, post-production for months and years. And so it's an awkward thing, because if you watch a film and you go, oh, that's really disappointing, you kind of just have to go, well, we got, you know, these people got it made, and it's not their decision what happened, so to speak.
Yeah.
But, you know, to bring it down, like watching Justice League, and I think I even said before, I watched Whedon's Justice League twice, once at the screening and then once on a date. So all I'll say is the good thing is that my date was one of the most stunning, amazing women I've ever met.
That's
so
awesome.
There was one positive from that night. But yeah, the film was just it was a mess. It was a mess because that was the only thing it was ever going to be, with that setup of the two contrasting visions mashed together, cut to within an inch of its life. So yeah, and then watching Snyder's Justice League, it was, bless you, was that a sneeze?
No, I was laughing. Sorry.
Oh, so sitting down to watch Snyder's Justice League, it was a really like the just, and I was watching it on my laptop, in my room on a private screener, a couple of days ahead of when it came out, and I was really I had so many emotions just because obviously I'd filmed in it and all the Green Lantern stuff, plus because I'm not as well. All of this stuff that's happened in the last few years with Green Lantern, you can't help but start to visualize, and you go, oh, imagine.
Yeah.
Like, ooh. And then you go, what would I do with it? What would it look like? What would the suit look like? I've thought about all that stuff, don't you worry.
Yeah.
So, and then you maybe you read, I think I'd recently read Green Lantern Earth 1, and I was like, ooh. And you start to think stuff like this. And then obviously I was intrigued because I thought, is there going to be a Green Lantern in it? But anyway, so watched it.
Yeah.
And then you got the additional thing of, is my scene going to be in it? And if it is it going to be a flash? Is it going to be the whole bit? Is it going to be a bit of it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of those things. But then at the same time, just as a fan, I'm going, right, let's see this. But I think I said it on Lightcast before it came out. I said, don't be surprised if it's good.
Yeah.
Like, I knew
right.
it was going to be incredible. Like, I knew it. There was no anxiety from me. I knew, especially just the length. I was like, I just know this thing, knock it out the park. And the weird thing was, I think I watched it on my own, and it blew me away. And there was a moment, I can't remember what the moment was. It might have been just the moment when Wonder Woman was standing on top of the building in London. And it was like, this is mad, because this is exactly, I've seen this before, but I feel so much more emotionally engaged right now.
Yep.
And I'm like, and also there's an element of, oh, that's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then I relaxed and I went, oh, I remember what this feels like.
Yeah.
And then it was a similar thing, because I watched it again with a couple of friends, and I think they had a different moment. I think it was an Aquaman moment where they went, because there's a bit where he's like on that, like what is it called? The wooden section that comes out into the water. What the hell's that called?
Oh, like a pier.
A pier.
Yeah.
He's on the pier and he's got the bottle.
Yeah.
And it was like, again, it was like, oh. And then I think one of my mates just went, oh, this is gonna be good, isn't it? He was like, yep. And then so it was just a whole, and just everything was just like, oh, and then all the Cyborg stuff came through, and then the Flash, was just so much more nuanced, and then some of the cheesy jokes were gone, and then all of the cheesy non-working jokes were gone.
Yeah.
And actually, as a friend said to me as well, he was like, I know that the stereotype is that Whedon is the funny one, but Snyder's Justice League was funnier than the 2017 version, because it's like I've said before, it's like it was all organic and logical and natural and human. And then it was all this big long journey of just awesomeness, and also just real, like, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? And then when it gets to the end, the final, just when I was like, oh, I was in the epilogue, and I was high on it, and I thought, thank God this has come out. This is wonderful. And even though I'm in it for a millisecond, I'm proud that my name's in these goddamn credits.
Yeah,
get in. And then I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm part of it. I'm proud to be part of it, even if I was a tiny jigsaw piece. And then that conversation with Batman and Joker, I went from being to I actually I think I shouted out loud. I was like, "What? No!" Oh, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my God, this is
Intense."
And then I think my mouth was open for the rest of the film, and then the credits happened, and it was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And it doesn't feel like 4 hours to me at all. Like even the first time I watched it, I think I only paused it like twice, maybe, like very brief, short pauses. And I was like, wow, it's already like part 5,
Yeah.
It just kind of just goes right by. Yeah, it is definitely night and day. And about the humor, yeah, I totally agree. The humor is so much more appropriate and fitting, and it doesn't, like Zack always says, have fun but don't make fun, and that's exactly what he does. And not to the score, oh my God.
Oh, I didn't even get yet. Yeah.
It's like
just yet.
Yeah, Junkie XL, so happy that we got to hear his score, because it makes some part, I mean, for certain things you're just like, oh yes, the music is so, it just makes everything better when you have the amazing visuals and storytelling that Zack does and Chris Terrio, and the score just adds to, I mean, that Flash scene, the score is just, score is beyond incredible. I love that part. What's the track? At the speed of force when he's turning back time. Oh, I just love it. I love it.
I mean, the one that it always like the Superman piano keys.
I know 2 notes, and you're like,
yeah.
How Hans Zimmer? How can you do this to me with 2 piano notes? And I always, kind of on a side note, I loved that with Lex Luthor's theme, they did the same thing, but the opposite. His theme is also the 2 notes, but it's like the opposite of Superman.
Yeah, it goes goes the opposite way.
Yeah, it's very cool. Would you like to see Deathstroke?
What kind of question is that?
Hashtag Deathstroke HBO Max.
I'm not super familiar from a comic point of view of Deathstroke. But I know that Deathstroke's got a really strong fan base, and all I know is seeing the tease that we've had of Deathstroke is like, whoa, okay. He's definitely not my go-to Batman villain, but when you see him, and again it's that Snyder thing of hey, it wasn't my idea, but if you think if you've got an idea, I've got no doubt that if I follow you through, there's going to be a big payoff here, and there's a reason why that character was chosen. There's just like there's a reason that Lex Luthor was cast as Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
there's a reason why it's not the Lex Luthor that you may have seen before or expected. So I think it's the same thing. I'm just like, let's see. But I definitely think I was in the minority at the time, it felt like, but I loved what I saw of Jared Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad. I was like, because one of the words that I always used was, I like, and again, it's back to what we said about Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman. There's an interpretation for every movie, every universe, but Heath Ledger's Joker is such a large, looming, iconic portrayal. But in the same way that when Jack played Joker, everyone was like, no one can play Joker like that.
Yeah.
And when he took on Joker, I think he even said in an interview, he said, I didn't want to do anything like Nicholson. I wanted to do this version in this world. And I think it's similar with Leto in the sense of Ledger's Joker is phenomenal, but Ledger's Joker is a terrorist, whereas Leto's Joker is a criminal.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about Leto's Joker, is that he was the clown prince of crime again.
Yeah.
So
I think it really fit. Like for Suicide Squad, I mean, it's not my favorite DC movie or anything, but that he was like, I was looking most forward to seeing Joker. And, there wasn't as much as I mean, they cut a lot of him out in Suicide
Yeah,
Squad. But I think the version that David Ayer went with, like this, gangster mafia boss
yeah,
version, I think it really fit the world that was in
totally.
Suicide Squad. Like it totally fit. And then seeing how Zack kind of like took him, and then, I mean, in the nightmare sequence, you expect, I mean, everyone is a little bit different. They all kind of look different in the nightmare world. So his look was like shocking. I mean, in a good way. But
Mhm.
when he started talking, like I was like, okay, this is still the same Joker in Suicide Squad. Like he was still
Mhm.
recognizable as that same Joker. I personally like him too as Joker. I think
Uh-huh.
like I would like to see more, because I don't feel like he got to really show as much in Suicide Squad as I expected him to be able to. So I was really happy that Zack at least gave him some time you know, in the Snyder Cut. And I would
Mhm.
like to see more of what he could do as Joker, because I think he's good at kind of getting into like that out there crazy, like just, yeah, I think he's good at doing that. Like he fits that role. Um, I thought, yeah, I would like to see more of him too. I know some people didn't like the tattoos and all of that, but like for the version that they went with, I think it made sense for him to look like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think Jared Leto, he did I could see him in that. It just fit. It made
Yeah.
sense for the
Agreed.
world. Yeah. So let me get to a few fan questions
Cool.
before we kind of wrap things up here, just so I don't forget. Some of them were kind of in line with what I asked you before, but one question comes from, well, since we were speaking about Green Lantern, this comes from Ryan on Twitter. Now that Wayne T. Carr has been announced as the Green Lantern, what do you think of? Do you have any thoughts on that? That he was supposed to be John Stewart?
Um, I watched his interview on Lightcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually sent him. We had a message back and forth when I saw the announcement, because I followed him and we had a bit of a little exchange, and I just said, "Yeah, congrats." And he watching his interview as well.
Mm-hmm.
He just comes off as such a great guy, and also you can tell there's a certain thing I think when you watch. I don't know this. Maybe this is complete crap, but I feel like when I watch someone get interviewed and when
Mm-hmm.
I get a sense of them, I know the kind of actor they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just like, yeah, he
Yeah.
looks the part. I'd love to see what he did with that character in that sequence that he shot in the driveway.
Yeah. Driveway
So
Studios.
and it fits in with that what you were saying earlier about how Zack doesn't care
Mm-hmm.
about brand names and what you've done before if you're perfect for the role. So it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
He's a guy and he's a working actor who's hustled and fought for his what he's got, and he's got the passion for it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen next? But I'd love to see it, and I'm sure just on instinct and the fact that Snyder cast him, I'm like, oh, I'm sure it'd be really
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, who knows what they filmed, but love to
I
see it.
know. I hope he at least gets to see it for himself,
Yeah,
because I know he hasn't seen it.
come
So I
on.
hope he at least gets to see it, just
That
to,
might make it worse though as an
that might
actor
make,
that
I
you've
know, as I
seen it.
said that, I was like, it might add salt to the wound, but it'd probably be, I don't know, I guess it'd be bittersweet. Like I mean, you'd wonder how it came out, like you'd like to see, but then at the same
Yeah,
time, like he said, when he was watching it, he was kind of like, oh damn, here comes the end, and
yeah,
I'm not there.
yeah.
Yeah. Here's another question. Let's see. Oh, where'd it go? What movies are you looking forward to seeing this year?
Um,
That's from Bob the Burger Guy.
that's a good question. I'm actually either tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to watch Mortal Kombat. The new
Okay.
one of the. I'm looking forward to that.
Hmm.
And um, I know a lot of people were raving about, or people were excited for the Godzilla Kong, movie, but I just never really, I never really grew up like loving that vibe, or it wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it, and it's cool. But Mortal Kombat is a game that I played. So on the older, well, in the UK it was the Sega Mega Drive or the Sega Genesis. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like, so I've always got that. You know, when you play a game when you're younger and it has an impact, and you're like, oh, I just want to see Sub-Zero kick some ass. Or so Mortal Kombat, Army of the Dead, obviously. I love, obviously it's Snyder, but I just love that concept that it's a heist movie, but with this epic apocalyptic zombie thing, and it's Vegas.
You're like, what?
This is crazy.
Yeah, how does that go together?
And it's original as well, which I think is really cool. I think, in a world of franchises and existing USPs and all this stuff, or IPs, it's really nice to see just an original movie, unless it's based on something that I'm not aware of. But it just feels like a really good. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I haven't really. I've just been, because cinemas have been closed. Like ordinarily, I had an Odeon Limitless card over here, which means unlimited movies in the Odeon cinemas here in London. So I'd be going to the cinema like twice a week, just seeing every movie. So that's the kind of moviegoer I am. So I can't really think of what else is coming really. I mean, Top Gun Maverick, of course.
It's been a long time coming for that one too.
Yeah. And I just Tom Cruise was on Graham Norton the other day, and I just love that man. I just really love that guy. I know some people, and even when I posted something about it, people are like, oh, this, and I'm like dropping the hate, and I'm like, nah, Tom Cruise he's just a ray of inspiration, and his movies are just, they speak for themselves. Like, how many actors can you just go?
I don't even know if I've ever watched a movie of his that I didn't like. I mean there's ones I've seen. Yeah, there's ones I've probably seen, more than others. But I don't think I've ever watched one and I was like, no.
Top Gun, Rain Man, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire, Born on the 4th of July, Vanilla Sky, Last Samurai, Collateral, Magnolia. It's just like, how many movies does this guy have to make that are awesome and iconic?
Plus his performance is very, he just, he goes for it.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Top Gun Maverick, and it's also, I'm hoping the vision that I have is me and multiple lads cruising into the cinema, and doing a bit of a squad watch in public with a capacity crowd, a capacity audience. That'd be my ideal.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, here I guess depends where you are, but they're kind of opening up here and there, or allowing more capacity. So hopefully that starts happening more for around the world. And then this kind of one last kind of question. Do you have any current or future projects that you can share with us, or are those not really much you can talk about as far as like sharing details?
So I mean, to break the fourth wall, I've, like I say, I'm a working actor, so I've been these last, I'd say, 6 months. I've been doing some really exciting auditions for both American projects, British projects. So been doing those, and then I'm about to finish the final edit of a short film, Screwjob, that I've directed and star in, which is set in the world of professional wrestling. It's about a female wrestler who's up against it, and she has an opportunity to take power into her own hands. So it's whether she does or not situation. I filmed a part in a web series called The Cloaking, a sci-fi web series, hopefully coming out later this year.
That's right. Yeah.
And I've just got a part in a short film it's set in the 1930s and 1950s London, and it's like a gangster type movie.
Cool.
I
see that.
Playing the guy who takes charge of this gangster group.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm doing research and chatting with the director about that. That's going to be filming in May. And then I think I've just recorded a voiceover for a commercial.
Oh, cool.
Which is coming out. I can't say what it is, but I'm going to be the voice on a commercial coming out in May. And it's one of the biggest brands in the world. So that's quite exciting.
Very cool.
But yeah, I won't say what it is, but yeah. So that'll be coming out in May. But yeah, apart from that, auditioning, enjoying things opening up and seeing what next project comes along. I've written a feature film, like a crime caper feature film that's based off that short that Carter Fry and I wrote together. So we've created a feature film version, and we're looking to get that made later this year as well.
Oh, awesome!
Those are all the things.
Very cool.
But yeah, we'll see what happens next.
I know this was the last question, but sorry. This was one of my questions and a fan question, so
go on.
I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but is there someone that you've never worked with? Okay, no, let me rephrase that. Someone that you could work with if given the chance. They don't even have to be, they don't have to be alive, just anyone that you could have had the chance to, they could be dead, alive, whoever, that you could work with. That you're like, I just wish I could, like, that's the person that I would love to work with.
It's so hard because there's so many.
Yeah.
I'll say, yeah, it's so hard because there's a couple of people where I'm like, and a lot of the time as well in this game, it's, people say, oh, what's your dream role, or what's this, what's that, and it's a lot of the time it's who you work with that's the most important. I'm going to say, because it's impossible, I'm going to say, because I'm pretty sure he's retired, is Jack Nicholson. Yeah. I would have loved to have been in a movie opposite Jack, going toe-to-toe with the master. So that would have been cool. But Keaton is Keaton's up there.
Yep.
And obviously, I was in Justice League, and I didn't, apart from Joe Morton, I didn't really meet much of the main cast. So, that squad of people are, they are, it just so happens that they're some of the best actors of the day as well. You know what I mean? So Henry Cavill is a big inspiration for me as a Brit. Affleck's an inspiration, especially because he wrote his own stuff and he directs as well.
Yep.
Gal is just phenomenal. Ray is just, especially after seeing his Cyborg, is just so much heart.
Yeah.
And he's a proper theatre guy, which I love. And Ezra's just, he's just this, he's a ball of energy, it seems like. I feel like he'd just be appropriate to the role. I think on set with him would be a good laugh. So, I actually met, believe it or not, I sometimes forget this, I actually met Jason Momoa in a different capacity. So probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I did some like presenting and hosting, and I hosted this TV convention, but the theme was DC superheroes. So I was introducing actors who at the time were in Arrow and Flash.
Okay.
But as a bonus, somehow, they had Jason Momoa in the house,
Wow.
who I think had just been cast as
Okay.
Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was the guy who was hosting the Q&A, and I would do a bit of in-between material for the crowd, and then
Mm-hmm.
the actor would appear backstage. I'd go backstage, greet them, make them feel at ease, bring them on. And
Yeah.
Momoa was one of those guys. And one of my main memories was he was the most chilled out guy, and he was really cool. But I
Yeah.
remember a friend of mine who'd done this hosting before. He warned me because he said, just be glad. He said that Momoa is on in the morning.
Oh.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he went, because when he's been booked in the late afternoon, he's had a few too many Guinness.
Guinness.
So I was like, okay. I was like, I like this guy already. This guy already.
That's pretty funny. I feel like he's the same. Like, I don't know. I just feel like because he's so like his style and everything, I just feel like he's the same.
Yeah.
He's Aquaman. Like I just see Jason Momoa, I'm like, oh, because Zack did such a revamp on his character, and he's like, no, just like keep your hair, we're gonna add to your tattoos, like the way he dresses, and he's kind of like this gruff, like, I'm like, he's the same, like that's him. So I just feel like he's casting. Like, he's like drinking and throwing bottles and like, slamming the guys on the table and
like, Jason, is this actually the film, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's the vibe I get from him too. Let's see. Okay, so I want to respect your time for sure, and respect the time restraints and limits that we kind of discussed. But are there any, final thoughts or anything that you would like to share before we kind of close things up? It can be about Snyder, it can be about, just anything.
I guess the thing to say, which I'm never going to stop saying, which would be, well, thank you to you, first of all.
Yeah, thank you.
For your support and your positivity, and not only towards me, obviously, within this whole universe and movement. Mm-hmm. And just once again, to everyone who's replied to me, sent me a DM, commented on a post, made fan art, messaged me from all kinds of places in the world saying that I'm your, you're my Hal Jordan, or even people now saying, Wayne Carr and Sam Benjamin in a show with Green Lantern, or and just all those people who were saying, regardless of me playing such a brief role in the thing, that they're happy that I've got a credit, and also they still have this vision or hope that I could one day play a Green Lantern. Every one of those messages means the world to me. And I'm so grateful and thankful. So thank you to everyone who's done that, and for the support and the constant pushing of it and sharing of it. It really is. It's been, it's one of the most iconic roles I've been associated with, and it's an honor to be associated with it, and to be that character in the eyes of those of you who think so. Thank you so much, and also well done, and thank you for the Snyder Cut movement as well, because it's unprecedented and it's incredible, and the passion is awesome and infectious, and I owe you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you for, it seems like this is a bit, like you said, it's a really unique thing that this has become, beyond just a fandom. I don't think a fandom has ever had the kind of relationship or connection or interaction with a director, the cast members, the crew. I've never, it's just been, it's crazy how just us little people on YouTube, or fans, basically just fans, are having a chance to talk to people like Zack Snyder and Ray Porter, Ray Fisher, yourself. And I think with a lot of people that like got cut from the movie, or we found out later that they were going to have a certain role, or they didn't make the movie, it's just like instantly the fans are like, who is this person? Like, follow, and like welcoming them into, the release the Snyder Cut movement or whatever it was. And it's just like grown into this really big, really cool thing to be a part of. So on behalf of, all of the fans and then Snyder Cut, just growing fan base, just thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing your excitement and passion with us for this whole thing. And we're very happy that we got to see your part in Snyder Cut, and who knows, maybe something in the future, but I think everyone's kind of definitely following you more closely now.
And thank you for that. And I'll just say this, if the opportunity ever arose, it would be, you can rely on me, put it that way.
I think everyone
I'd bring it.
And I think everyone would be welcoming you with open arms, just like, Ray Porter with Darkseid. We didn't even get to see anything he had done or anything. Like everyone's like, yes, please, show us Darkseid. So very happy for everyone that got to see their roles. Just what we were meant to see originally. So very happy for all of you guys who got to see that happen.
Amazing. And keep doing what you're doing. Your YouTube show is amazing.
Thank you.
I've loved discovering you in the past. So it's been great. Just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm hoping I'm sure your following is going to get bigger and bigger. And
well, thank you. I mean, I've had experience of chatting with some pretty cool people on here, so that's been a cool experience, being a part of this from the beginning. So but thank you so much, and keep up. Just we'll also be following your projects and everything that you're doing too. So
great.
Thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you and talking with you, and hopefully you get to visit a cinema soon.
Yes.
Have that experience too.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Ali.
Yes.
I'm gonna shoot off. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Obviously, we'll keep tweeting and messaging each other anyway, and I'll let you know if anything crazy happens.
Okay. I guess we got the Snyder Cut, so nothing is, impossible.
Yep. Exactly. Anything is possible. All right. Well, have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Well, have a good night for you.
Bye.